It's really more point. We just have one guest, but it's a good one today. Joining us is Edward Getterman, a former director for Congressman Bill Flores, here to talk politics, the race for the White House, and much more. Great to have you, Edward.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Let's begin with the race for the White House. Donald Trump's poll numbers have been dropping a bit, at least according to recent polls. Early this morning, we learned he's making some staff changes, some pretty big changes. Is this going to be make a difference for the candidate?
Well, I don't know. Time will tell. Traditionally, staff changes are made at the end of a primary process as the campaign begins to shift its focus to the general election. Making these changes several weeks down the road past the end of the primary process, and especially on the heels of two really terrible weeks for his campaign, it kind of has a little bit of a ring of desperation to it. So I'm not sure how much good it'll do. I will say Kellyanne Conway is very well respected. She's been a GOP strategist for years. If anybody can turn his ship around, it's her. I think it might be a little too late at this point, though. And she can only do so much. He's going to have to be willing to be handled in order for her to have an effect on him. So,
isn't that the issue with this candidate? It feels very different than most campaigns in that he's really not willing to, at least it doesn't seem like he's willing to listen to the people that he hires to give him the advice.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that I think if I was a psychologist by trade, it would be a real interesting thing to study for a very long time to come, because a lot of people, you could make a pretty legitimate argument that he's totally self-destructive, and maybe is the dog that caught the car and decided, well, I don't really want to be president, and is doing everything to kneecap himself. So it's an interesting time to be alive, for sure.
I have never heard that, the dog that caught the car in this scenario. That makes sense. Okay, in a rare move, the FBI has now sent investigative materials, according to reports, in the Hillary Clinton email case to Congress. Of course, Clinton was not charged or punished in any way as a result of this FBI investigation. First question is, what will Congress do with this information?
I don't know. I don't know that there's much that they can do. Congress can't force the Justice Department, especially a Democratic Justice Department, to prosecute the Democratic candidate for president. I think they run the risk of overplaying their hand like they did with Benghazi. They forced her to come testify, and she sat up there and stonewalled him for 8 hours, and they really got nothing out of it. I think they run the risk of, if it turns out that there's nothing in those notes that they can use against her, then it's going to totally backfire in their faces. So I worry that they are getting really close to overplaying their hand, and it's going to blow up in their faces.
All right, finally, let's talk Texas politics. Ted Cruz ruffled some feathers at the convention earlier this summer. He'll be up for re-election for the Senate seat. It will be open in 2018. Hearing other big names tossed around, including Congressman Michael McCall on the Republican side, Democrat Joaquin Castro, who's a rising Democrat, has been for a few years now. This race, I'm already excited to see how this unfolds over the next couple of years. What do you think going forward with this race?
Well, I think Castro's going to run regardless and will be the Democrat, and he'll be formidable on his own. The question is going to be if McCall runs against him or not. His question is, does he run for re-election in a safe House seat, or does he try to take a shot at the king? Cruz opened himself up for somebody to run against him by his performance in that press conference he gave. I think he probably regrets that now at the convention. But McCall would be a significant challenge to him. He's got $300 million personally. He's got a significant network of donors in Texas. But it would still be a tough hill to climb. Ted Cruz has a huge grassroots network, a huge donor network that's national at this point. So it's going to be very interesting. And if he does run, there's going to be a lot of money spent and a lot of blood spilled. If he doesn't run, I think Ted Cruz will probably still walk away with it.
Edward Getterman, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
Daybreak.